To Supervisor Pinch's point, I mean, basically, this isn't really unique. These go up and down the coast of the state of California. Mendocino County has a number of them, most of which are not actually active, more than not. And it's simply an offer to dedicate. I mean, that's what this is. It isn't really going. They're not soliciting people to visit this point any more than any other public access point. So an offer to dedicate, I just don't, I mean, I agree with what Council's saying. I don't think that for an offer to dedicate, we want to get into making it a condition of actually following through on an offer to dedicate that we add insurance to it, because I think it is really ultimately setting a precedent. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Colfax?
My understanding is it's not an offer to dedicate. This was a condition in place. Property was purchased knowing the purchaser knew that this was a condition on the property when he purchased it. It seems to me that, and when the offer was taken up and moved forward, the property owner said, well, gee, I don't want these people bothering me. Well, you buy a house on a busy street and you get angry because there are cars going up and down it, you'd say, well, that just doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't mean to make little of the concern here, because I think the concerns are legitimate, but it's the cost of doing business, and it's not the county's job to be protecting individuals against a condition of a piece of property that they knew all about. I got redwoods on my property. Should I expect that I should get somebody to cover the redwoods in case one falls on me on a given in a given storm? I don't think so. And I think this is a condition of the property. The land trust is merely requesting going forward with the implementation of this particular trail, and the landowner has some concerns, and I think they have some legitimacy. But again, it's not as if we're starting anew here. But it's not as if we're putting something in place on a piece of property as we are manufacturing up here. That's why I asked when this all happened, how it was put together, and I find some of that a little strange, but we can't go into that now. But in that regard here, I think we should just see this go forward. I would make a motion at the proper time here if it's
Not time yet.
not time yet.
Yep.
Just
Close.
give me a single.
You bet.
Okay. One thumb or two.
Thumb up or thumb down? I'm sorry. Supervisor Delaware.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would concur with Supervisor Pinch's, and I'd actually written down that special condition number 4 is that the landowner, because we don't know who that person is, we know who it is today, but we don't know who it is tomorrow, be listed as an insured. I think that's it's been offered, and that's the assurance. Because what these offers to dedicate were extortions by the Coastal Commission. And the courts found that those were extortions, and that's why they no longer can do them. But those that were already done before the court made that call, finally, are out there. And I adamantly disagree with these. It's an infringement of private property rights. To build a house, to get a permit, you had to offer a big trail right through the middle of your property. And if the guy on the busy street doesn't have to offer up somebody's right to go through his backyard. There's a little bit of a difference. Now, there is a public resources code that the applicant, or actually that the appellant lists here in his documents that I'm going to ask counsel about later for my own benefit so I understand it, but there's something down the road, I guess I prefer in the offer to dedicate mode that's a little different than it's already done. So I'll check with you later on that, Frank. But to me, the only thing that I see we can do, unfortunately, is to give the property owner that added assurance that if somebody gets hurt on his property as a result of this extortion, I mean the offer to dedicate and the easement, then he ought to have some protection for that. And I appreciate the land trust offering that up. I'd like to see it memorialized as a condition. So I'd support that. Thank you.
Final comment, Supervisor
Just
Pinchas?
final comment, the easement that's not an argument point. But I believe that there's a big difference. Before, this easement was just basically on a recorded piece of paper, and some people knew about it and used it. Now that the Mendocino Land Trust is involved, they want to put signage there, they want to put a boardwalk and everything. That in itself is going to apply a lot more usage, which implies your liability goes up. So I think that it's only fair, as that happens, that the property owner needs to be somewhat, a little bit protected from that. And the Mendocino Land Trust has offered that up. So I just think it should be a special condition to the piece of property, not to the current landowner, not necessarily Mr. Patrick, but whoever the future landowner happens to be.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, I'm going to close the public hearing, remand this back to the board for action, and Supervisor Colfax, I'm giving you a thumbs up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand the concerns have been raised here. Whether this was extortion at one time is, I think, the fine point we have to make up here right now. The property that this particular property owner acquired with this easement on it should have, if he did not, should have gotten should have seen that property being worth somewhat less. How you would determine this is not up to me to determine. But how this was, when the property was sold, it had this condition on it. The extortion was taken by the previous owner. There's where the loss occurred. We're not talking about extortion. We're not talking about whether or not this can be done. If the land trust wants to make the offer, fine. But I think we will be discussing this in every case. When did you buy the property? I'm not going to go ahead with it. I will go ahead with it. I think it was, if I were in the land trust position to negotiate what is already an established trail, I would not have offered up this kind of compromise, if you will. Since it's been offered, so be it. But I would move here that the appeal be denied without any further clarification or additions.
Okay, and that is a motion?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Second.
Do I hear a second? There is a second to deny the appeal with no additional conditions. Discussion to the motion?
To the chair, this would be the recommended,
Yes.
this would be the recommended action.
That is correct.
That the Board of Supervisors deny the appeal and uphold the action of the Coastal Permit Administrator approving Coastal Development Permit 40/2006.
As stated, yep. Any further discussion to the motion? Okay, call for the vote on your buttons to deny the appeal.
Motion fails with Supervisors Delbar, Wattenberger, and Pinchas dissenting.
Okay. What is the action of the board at this point?
I would like to propose a motion to basically, I guess it would deny the appeal, but to add a condition number 5 under special conditions,
Which would say?
which would have the landowner